Hello, Outliers, and we are back. And we are back with a very special guest, a vivacious personality known for her finely balanced leadership style, an avid traveler, a voracious reader, a dancer, and on top of it all, an amazing mother to twin boys. She is the leader for the Oracle Women Leadership UAE community and a proud member of advisory board of Amity University, Dubai. She is an author and a podcaster herself. So let's welcome Sajna. Hi Sajna, how are you?
Hi, Lucky. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here today. Yes, it's a
An honor.
wonderful day. I don't think there is a better way to start this day with you and your podcast. So thank you so much for having.
Thank you. That's very kind of you. So let's start with your journey in your own words.
Okay, so if you ask me about my journey, I would like to start with my family. So, one of the key reasons I'm here today, I would say it's because of the men and women in my family, the incredible people in my family, including my grandmothers, my mother, my aunts, and my father, my brother, and my husband as well, and my twin baby boys. They have been a great support system for me throughout my journey in different phases of life. So, initially, when I started out, I was born in an Orthodox Muslim family, but it was quite different from how you would see in other Muslim families because in our family, the women were empowered, much before I would say feminism became a kind of a hashtag. Okay. So my grandmother, she was one among the first few Muslim women to go to college in Kerala. I come from Kerala in India. And my maternal grandmother, she used to always ask me, like, what's your dream? What do you want to be? Even though I was just 4 or 5, I think 5 or 6 years old, every time I visit her,
Amazing.
she would ask me this question. So
Uh-huh.
I grew up in a family which actually, encouraged women to dream. So that was something very empowering for me. I didn't realize that there is a difference in way how men and women are treated because me and my brother were treated the same in my family, and we were given the right kind of opportunities. My father never stopped me from doing anything, or I should say, he encouraged me more to go out and work, to join his business, or even the first time he told me at 16 years old that you have to get a driving license and you have to start driving. I was like, no way, I'm not driving on these Indian roads because that back then
Oh,
it was crazy. I couldn't even imagine, driving on the.
right, right.
But then he said, no, it's okay. It's a car. You can just drive. You don't have to do a two-wheeler. I'll get you a car. Just drive. And this is in 1998, 2000, I would say 2000, 2001,
Mm-hmm.
just when I just turned 16. So, oh, yeah, I reveal my age now, right?
That might inspire more people actually.
Yeah. Um, that's how my family was, how supportive my family was, and still now. So every time anybody asks me, Sashna, how do you do it all? Like, you are working 9 to 5, you have twin baby boys who just turned 4, you have your family to take care of, and you have so many, you do so many things like whatever you mentioned during the intro, right? So I tell them that I have a great support system which helps me, and that's what helps me do all of it. Right? Whatever I love to do, those people, those incredible people, are the ones who
Mm-hmm.
help me do all of it. So that's my personal journey. Now, I would, in terms of my professional journey, I started out in Infosys.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a bachelor's in electronics and engineering. I completed it. I started out in Infosys. I had an incredible stint in Infosys for the 4 years. Then I moved into Cisco.
Mm-hmm.
After that, I came back to UAE where my parents used to stay. My father has a business here. I came back here because he was not feeling well and he needed somebody to support his business. So I left my job and I came here to support him for around an year. And that's when I learned how to do business, how to have those negotiations, the sales the cycles, etc., etc. So that's
It's interesting.
around 1 year, 1.5 years, and everything. Once after the business kind of settled and he was able to take care of things himself, then I decided that okay, it's time I go back to my what I love to do, right? So then I
Right.
went back to, I joined ADNOC, an oil and gas company here, as again
Mm-hmm.
an Oracle consultant, and then After 4 to 5 years, I joined Oracle. So it's been around 8 years in Oracle. It's been the longest time I've ever spent in any organization. It has been an incredible journey, I should say. It's at Oracle I realized how much you should invest in yourself, right? Investing in
Impressive.
yourself, investing in improving yourself as a person is what gets you far. So that was quite a learning for me, and which that's something which I'm going to carry for the rest of my life. So that's a short journey of me personally, sorry, professionally, and it's at Oracle I decided to try something new which I'm not generally not done before, because I'm kind of an introvert. It's very, very difficult for me to go to people, speak, and all of that. But Oracle actually pushed me out of my comfort zone, and I realized how important it is. And then finally, I started to do podcasting, coaching, and all of that I do these days.
Yeah, by the way, she is a certified life coach and leadership coach. And we talked about other things, but let me tell you, I contacted one of the persons who has worked very closely with her, and I was like, give me two superpowers that she has. And from her intro itself, you might be able to guess the kindness part, because she gave all the credit to all the amazing people she has in her life and around her. And this person very rightly said kindness and keenness. And then he went on to say, you wouldn't find a leader who is so caring and yet so strong. So, yes, I can feel it here. And the way you described it all, that is just incredible. So, thank you for that. You mentioned you moved to UAE to support the business. And we have that as a commonality. I also belong to a business family. I know that somehow it shapes your mindset, it shapes your rituals. So, what are some of the mindsets and rituals that shaped your leadership style? And even more importantly, we know that obviously a job operates very differently than a business. So, what are some of those which you had to unlearn?
A bit of it I already covered in my intro. Like, I grew up in a family where my gender never defined what I could do or what I could not do, right? More
Right.
importantly, what I could not do, coming from a Muslim Orthodox family. So we didn't have roles for men and responsibilities for women. It was mostly like everyone contributed, everyone led. So for example, if my mother was working as well, so if my father had to cook, he did cook. If he had to support my mom, he did. At the same time, my mom did the same. So it was never like, you are a guy, you won't do this, or you are a woman, you won't do this. It was never gendered ever in our family. Additionally, I would say what my father, he trusted me with the business when I was just, I would say around 20. I was barely 20. And he told me that, you can take care of the business. I need support. You have to come back. It was a very big decision for me to make, like in the 20s, to leave your profession and come back to run a business which has been running for successfully for around 10. And then I don't know what gave him the trust. Probably he trusted his daughter, right? So that trust he has in me has taken me far in my life as well, because that give a trust in me as well. And my mother also encouraged me from a very young age to be independent, and also, for example, choosing engineering, moving to Bangalore alone, trying to do whatever I love to do. It was all normal in our house. It was never like, oh, you're going to Bangalore. And I'm talking about 2000s, right? It was not normal for especially Muslim women to go to a different state alone, stay, and all of that. So that quiet confidence my parents placed in me has all quite shaped my leadership. Um,
Mhm.
I would say that that's something which I understood pretty later. Like when people ask me sometimes, my teammates ask me, how do you trust us so much? Like you have this blind trust in us, but actually it's not blind. I try to understand them and I try to understand their skill sets. Probably they don't see it, right? But I see it, and then I also kind of guide them behind the scenes, but I trust that they could do it. So that is something I believe I is a trait which I picked up from my parents. So this this mindset, right? If you're capable, you can do it. and you are capable to do things whatever you want to do. So that was a mindset which was reinforced in me early on, during my childhood. Now if you ask me what I had to unlearn, I would say, because I was around very powerful women, very independent women, I had a belief that I have to always be strong, always be self reliant, always be independent, right? And growing up in the business family, I have seen my father doing things alone, my mother doing things alone. So that made me feel that, probably I should also do things alone. I don't have to ask for support. But it's not true. Even they did not do it alone. I just thought that they did it alone. They had a good support system as well. That I realized when I
True.
grew older, because sometimes relationship that can become a trap, right? Like you have to
Yes.
stay alone. And
Yes.
I realized that no, you can ask for help. It's not a weakness. It is understanding
Definitely.
what you are capable of and leveraging what you can leverage from the team. So that is something which I had to unlearn. So I would say my leadership now is a blend of both the worlds, which you actually said, kindness and strength. You kind of very well. I never thought about it that way, but yeah, it's the grit and ownership which I learned from home, and the emotional openness I learned later, in my life and my career.
It's amazing. And you talked about trust heavily. Have you ever been in situations where your team or even one member on your team did not trust you? And if so, how did you turn the tables?
I haven't had any situation where a team member did not trust me at all. So there might be instances where they questioned me,
Mhm.
and
Mm,
I encourage that, because
definitely.
when I'm a leader and they are a team, if I don't encourage openness, if I don't encourage them to challenge me and question me, then probably I'm shutting their ideas down, right? So it's an open
Yes.
environment. So I've created this open environment that you can challenge me. It's not that I am not the know it all, right? I'm just leading you.
Right.
It's not necessarily I know it all, and a leader can never know it all. You surround yourself with people who are experts in different areas, and then
Yes.
your skill set as a leader is to bring them all together towards a vision. That is what you do. It's not that you do their individual jobs, then it's like micromanagement. I create this open environment where people can challenge me, question me. If you're questioning, you need to have, and if even if they question me, okay, but should we be doing this way? Then I try to understand their perspective and see how we can work it out. And that's how amazing things have actually turned out, even in Oracle Women Leadership and even in our Oracle teams in general. Like when people question and when we understand their perspective, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Probably we should try that out, right? And that has worked amazingly well for me and for the team in general. That is something also which I learned from my leaders at Oracle. So I have had
Interesting.
incredible leaders at Oracle who give
Uh-huh.
us the opportunity. Like they will ask you, okay, what is your perspective about it? They are senior directors. They have they might have a different perspective, but still they're open to understand what are our perspectives, what are our challenges, and they give us that space where we are not scared to tell whatever we feel. And I have seen that how that openness builds trust, how it builds
Definitely.
my trust with them and others trust them as well. So
Yes.
hierarchy doesn't actually matter much at Oracle, because or I would say in our team, because of the openness and the engagement which our leaders allowed. So I am kind of learning from them, and I've emulated them in my leadership as well.
That's amazing. And I can see why you are such an effective leader and why you have accelerated so quickly in your journey. We'll come to that as well.
Sure.
But this entire answer gave me a very strong sense of high emotional intelligence. And you also talk often about giving back by touching one life at a time. So I know that being such a human with very high EQ and the kind of just energy, sheer energy that you bring, there might be bigger purpose that you might be focusing on. But I know from our past conversations that there was something during COVID that happened and that turned this thought into that this particular belief into mission. So, can you please help us understand what was that exact inflection point during COVID that turned this belief into the mission?
So during COVID, like COVID was the moment that actually stripped all of our life down into essentials, I would say, right? Because we all
Ah,
started questioning what are we doing here? Because first, because we had a lot of time. Second,
yes.
we could see people losing their lives right in front of us. People who thought, or people whom we thought had a longer life or longer time, we saw them just, just unfortunately lose their lives. So it was kind of an eye opening moment for me that, okay, this is the time that I have to think about what I really want to do. And that's when I started kind of, I would say, thinking about, why am I here? What I want to do, right? And that's when I realized that I had this urge from a very young age that I want to do something for the society. It is something which has come in from inside me. Like, there is this voice which keeps telling me that you should do something. You have been extremely lucky, right? Because you have had a wonderful family. You're coming from a place where you have everything. You are happy. You have your parents were able to provide you everything, but at the same time there are so many other people who don't have that privilege. So I always wanted to do something, but I had no clue how. So I
Mm-hmm.
remember there were days when I used to think, probably I should go and teach children in slums, or I should go and teach children in government schools. But none of them actually materialized for some reason. I don't know. It never happened. Probably it'll happen in the future, and I wish it would.
Let's crossed.
Yeah, so it did not. Right?
Yeah.
And then I was there during COVID thinking, like, okay, what can I do now? I'm in a room. What should I do now? Right? I can just be there.
Right.
And we never knew, when will the lockdown get over? Will this be the end
Yeah.
of the world? All of those crazy things going around. Then I started thinking about, okay, what can I do? Right. And that was
Mm.
when I remembered my previous performance appraisal conversation with my manager. And my manager was saying, if you want to be a leader, you also need to learn how to coach. And that was the first time I'm
Mm.
hearing the word coaching. Like, I have heard mentoring for so long, but coaching
Yeah.
is not a very common word before 2020 or 2021, I should say, right? And everybody
Yes.
knew about mentoring, but no one really talked about coaching. So I said, okay, that's interesting. Well, then I started looking at what is coaching and all of that. And suddenly I would say that one fine day, when I was checking my email inbox, I get this email from Jay Shetty's company saying that they have
Mm.
started a life coaching program. So I'm like,
Wow.
this is amazing. It's as if they read my mind. Probably they did, because
Yeah.
never been a fan of Jay Shetty. I've never followed him for so long because I've never been a social media person as such. But suddenly it appears in my email box that, okay, he has started a new coaching company. Would you like to try out a life coaching program? And that's the first, we were the first cohort actually of his program. So yeah, yes. And they also said that, then I thought, okay, why not? Let me at least understand what life coaching is all about. So that's the first time I'm hearing life coaching. So I said, okay, let's go into the conversation and hear that out. And then I had this conversation, and I still remember when I asked that person who was on the other side from Jesh's program, like, what is life coaching? So that the person who I'm speaking to is also already a certified coach. So she said that, you know, um, when a person is hungry,
Mm.
you can either give them food, or you can teach them how to fish, or how to get their own food. Coaching,
Right.
mentoring is all about giving them food, or kind of, you can either give them food, but coaching is all about how to teach how to earn that food. That's what coaching
Mm.
is about. And then she said that coaching is never about telling people what to do. It is all about
Guiding them.
guiding them to find their own answers. And I was like, mind blown. I was like, that's so true, right? Nobody
Yes.
knows their lives better than themselves. So, for example, like, you know your life, what you want, what your goal is, how you can achieve it. You know it better than me. So, when I'm coaching, if I'm going to tell you, oh, you have to do one, two, three, four, and probably when you follow it, you might never reach it, because
Yeah.
Your skill sets are different, your aspirations are different, but at the same time, if I'm able to question you in such a way that you understand yourself, okay, this is what I want to do, this is
Yeah.
how I can do it, these are the resources I have, and then let me go ahead and do it, right? So coaching is all about that. So that is why when that particular email landed in my inbox, I felt like, okay, this is like when you really want something, the entire universe conspires to make it
Inspires.
happen, right?
Definitely.
Yeah, so I felt like, oh, this is interesting, let's just do it. So everything aligned. When I had that conversation, suddenly everything came into place. I want to support, I want to help people, I want to give back to people. I can do it just being in front of my computer with anybody across the world. Had the experience, I have the empathy part which I'm really good at. So why don't I use it, right? So that I would say was a turning point. It wasn't quite, it wasn't dramatic as you were mentioning, but it was that quiet point where I realized that, wow, this is what I could do. And then I started coaching one person, then another one, then one more. And slowly people started reaching out. And I saw how one single conversation could change someone's mental state. Sometimes I have had conversations with my colleagues for just 1 hour, and they had complete clarity of what they wanted to do, and they decided to do it, and they did it, right? So I saw how small acts of support, acts of coaching
Mm.
can completely transform a person's life. And then that became my mission, to help people, and just touching one life at a time. And that's what I would say it's
Amazing.
all about.
I actually find it interesting because one of the persons whom I used to call a mentor, she is actually a coach, which I understood very late. And she asked me to sign up for this program where we get coaching from a particular platform, even though she was one of those. But she was like, yeah, you can have multiple coaches. Why not try it? And it has been like roughly 1.5 years now. And I have had this professional coach who has helped me not just understand myself better, but also see the blind spots
Yes.
and grow from those. It is not like I think if I would have done it alone, I would have been a little too harsh on myself. But she made sure that I am not doing that. I'm not overthinking, but also working on the things that I am supposed to. And as you said, she did not give me the answers that, okay, you should work on this or that. It has been an entire journey where I was able to see, okay, if I am falling in this pattern or this loop, why am I doing it? And how should I get out of it? And I must say that, as you said, it has helped people transform, and that is not just professionally, it ultimately reflects personally as well. And I'm sure that people support therapy and mental well being in everything a lot these days. And I'm grateful to live in such times. And this is just a different aspect of it and how both your personal and professional lives come together.
It's true. When people talk about, people don't realize how much your personal life impacts your professional life, and how much professional life impacts your personal life. So as part of the coaching program, if you take any coaching program, despite of what you take, the first thing they try to understand is how balanced your life is. And they use a tool called wheel of life, right? And
Yes.
they try to understand how balanced your life is, and that not only the coach, you also will understand how balanced your life is. And that's the starting point, because then you realize that there are different spokes of life where you're not balanced in. For example, it could be financials, it could be relationships, it could be the fun aspect, everything, right? Every single
Yes.
small aspect of your life. But when all of these are kind of balanced, that's when you can you know drive through your life. Otherwise, you cannot use that wheel to continue moving in your life. So I say a coach is always a mirror.
Mm.
He or she will actually be able to mirror what you think and what you feel and all of that. And when you hear what you feel from the coach, you're like, uh-huh, I didn't want to say that loud, but she said it loud, right? You
Yes.
cannot
Yes.
not acknowledge it. And that's what the beauty of coaching is. And I also believe that coaching helps you to create that momentum. Sometimes you have the clarity, you have the confidence, but you just don't do it. You just
Yes.
don't do it, right? And there is a lot of difference between knowing things and doing things. And sometimes coaches come there and it pushes you to do things. So there are some
Yes.
clients who, like, they know that they have to hit the gym, they know that they have to focus on their health, but they don't do it. So then coaches come in and then they help and they try to remove the belief systems. And it's not that they don't want to do it. There is something which is blocking them. There is a mental block, and they work on that mental block and try to remove it. So that's what we do. And once you have done it, I believe that at least you can self coach yourself later, right?
Yes.
Yeah, whenever in your day-to-day life, when you have, oh, what did I do with that situation, I probably can kind of ask the same kind of questions and kind of get the
Definitely.
responses. Yes.
Definitely. I know this is a question where we can talk for like eternity, but I'll just kind of wrap up this question with this particular incident. So, I was invited for a panel discussion in Salesforce where I was the youngest one and a female leader. So it kind of gave me imposter syndrome, and I had to kind of ask the organizers, like, why me? Because everyone else was like super seasoned professionals and they have achieved really big things. And at that point, my coach helped me understand where the imposter syndrome was coming from. And then I took up She Advises India's chair role. So we can see the transformation, and I am definitely going to ask her to watch this podcast. But people like you have inspired me. I know how we talked while I was inviting you for our first event, and just the sheer confidence that others have in you also move the needle. Tell me, how has your leadership muscle from parenthood translated into the boardroom leadership, and what part of it did not come from corporate but from the parenthood itself?
That's a lovely question. I love that question, right? Because I believe that motherhood and even parenthood in general teaches you a lot of things that you can leverage in your professional environment and even specifically in your leadership role. This is what I believe. And that's why I believe mothers make great leaders, because they have they have to take care of their children, they have to take care of their husband and their family. They have different team members in their family to whom they have to cater to. And being the mother of the family, she kinds of balances it all. So she has that emotional intelligence, she has the leadership skills to manage diverse team members with diverse requirements. It could be her mother-in-law, her father-in-law, her own mother, her father, her husband, her children. It's like having a diverse team of people who have different requirements. So I believe that as mothers, you learn how to tackle them, and that kind of those skills can be kind of leveraged in your leadership role as well. So being a mother of twin baby boys, I would say it has built helped me build leadership muscles in a way that no MBA can teach me. There have been multiple. I will illustrate a few examples. For example,
Hmm.
MBA never teaches you to be patient, but what you really need in a leadership role is deep, unshakable patience at times, because corporate life is quite quick. Everything has to be done yesterday. The decisions had to be taken yesterday. You have to give the submissions in on time. Your customer is behind you, your sales team is behind you. There are lots of people, stakeholders, who are pestering you to see to get the required outcome. But at that moment, you should be able to regulate yourself. You should be able to be patient. It's the same in case of a child. Children generally, until 5 to 6 years, their prefrontal cortex is not developed, which means they cannot regulate their emotions. So if you see children through tantrums and they are just not able to stop it, is because the regulation part is not built, or is not developed yet. Right? Their amygdala
Yes.
is firing up, their emotions
Yeah.
are is firing up, they are crying, but they're not able to stop it because they don't have that prefrontal cortex to regulate it. And how do they regulate it is using their parents. So as a mother, if your child is crying and is not able to stop it, if you can just hold your child and just bring your child close to you, you will notice that after a few minutes the child settles down, kind of calms down, because it is the child is co-regulating with you. That requires patience. Generally parents, they just like, "Oh, why are you shouting, why are you screaming for no reason, you want that toy, I can't get you that toy." But what we don't understand is that we have to co-regulate it with them. And that's the case in also in teams or in any fired up situation. If one person is shouting or if one person is angry, you would have noticed if the other person is quiet and they're calm, slowly the person who is angry as well will slowly tone down and calm down and be
Yes.
in that same, will come back
Yeah.
to that middle ground. So the core
Yes.
regulation is something which you learn from your children. And being a motherhood actually have taught me how you can center yourself in chaos, how to respond instead of react, how can you respond effectively. And that's
Important.
extremely, yeah, very important. There is one of my favorite quotes. I remember I had it pasted it here near my desk for a long, long time until I realized
Uh-huh.
this that became a common
Second nature.
second nature in me, right? So it is by a person called Viktor Franklin. So he is a Jew, and he was in the concentration camp of Hitler, and he has written a book of how he was able to survive the concentration camp. And in the book he has written that this is a quote, if I remember it right: there is a gap between your silence sorry there is a gap between the trigger and your response. Okay,
Hmm.
that gap, that silence is what determines the direction of your of how that conversation would be, or how even your life would be.
Yeah.
Sometimes in that particular gap, that response and the trigger and the response, whatever that gap is, that gap is what
Yes.
determines probably the future of the conversation, the direction of the conversation. Sometimes some conversations can impact your entire life.
Yes.
That it's in that gap you actually think, how do you respond,
Nice.
right?
Yes.
So that's extremely important. Then that's something which I've learned: co-regulation, patience. Second is definitely creative problem solving, because
Hmm.
with kids, plan A never works and plan B sometimes doesn't work as well. Oh my god, it's a different journey altogether. And then you have to learn to think on your feet. You have to find alternative
Yeah.
options, and you have to
Yes.
adapt very quickly. Like in seconds, you have to adapt, and that too without frustrations. It it makes you. I'm like, how did I even come up with that solution? And then I was like, that's
Amazing yourself.
right. You're amazed by yourself how quickly you can do that. That's the second thing. And third thing is about listening without judgment. Children teach you that every individual is different, different motivations, different emotional needs, and all of that. Both my boys are twin baby boys, okay, but both are entirely different individuals. What they want, what makes them happy, what makes them sad, how they react or how they respond to a situation, what they will say, what they will not say, everything is different. So they teach you that even though they both were in the same womb, came out at almost the same time, was born and brought up in the same similar family environment, but still their motivations and their emotional needs are different. And that translates into leading diverse teams, because that help make you understand that people are different. I cannot lead one person the way I lead the other person. One person might
Exactly.
not need support, like might not need micromanagement. He or she will do their work by themselves. I just need to guide them. But there might be a newer person who needs my support, who needs me to micromanage for some time, and then later they could just fly, right? So what I would
Definitely.
say is that motherhood reinforced something very powerful in me, which is leading is not executing. Leading is again coaching, guide, right? It's not about you
Interesting.
supporting, it's about coaching. But at the same time, understand the motivations, the needs of the different team members are different, and and at the same time, you'll have to act as different leaders. That you should have different leadership skills, which you might be leading, guiding one person at the same time, be supporting another person at the same time. So
Hmm.
that's what I would say. And yeah, so it made me more empathetic, more grounded, more intentional leader. And these are the qualities any boardroom needs today, any leadership teams need today.
Yes, indeed. And that is an amazing, amazing list. I'll just summarize patience, co regulation, identifying the needs and catering to those needs accordingly, and being a very quick thinker in a very adaptable way, and leading with the mindset of response versus react. And that bit also actually reminded me of the 6 second rule, which I don't remember where I picked it up, but someone or some book told me that okay, whenever you are triggered or you are put in a very stressful situation, take 6 seconds before you answer the question or handle that situation. Been doing that for some time, and of course, being in customer facing role, it is much required.
Yes, very much.
So yes. And that also, when you're talking about it and the tonality when the crisis management situation occurs, when someone is using probably a higher pitch. And that happened with one of the customers and one of my counterparts, and both were in that heated up situation. And just lowering my tone and using softer words helped me dial down that entire situation. And that customer then did not create an escalation or anything. That situation in itself was solved then and there. So, some really, really amazing lessons in this particular answer. And as you also talked about how it grounds you, I see you talk actively and lead actively on the personal development side. So, when did you discover that it is actually a growth hacking tool? And were there any early experiments that were involved in understanding compounding effect of it?